Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was an MCU movie I didn't know I was waiting for. This review will contain spoilers because I really just want to go over all the things that I loved with this film and all the things that I didn't like that much, because honestly, when the film finished, I was talking to my sisters and I was like, why was that said? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? That didn't make sense. And I had a lot of criticisms with it, but it's been a couple of days since I've seen it and now I'm just like, hang on a second, I absolutely loved when that happened. That was so good. I can't believe that happened. I need to talk about all of those feelings, all of those emotions and all of these thoughts I had when it finished and now a couple of days later. First off, I want to talk about the aspect of the multiverse, given that it's in the title, and my expectations from this movie was that it was going to be a multiverse of madness. Yes, we did see that madness, but it didn't live up to my expectations that I had since No Way Home, where we saw these multiverses colliding. We got the villains and we got the Spider-Man from different multiverses coming to our MCU multiverse. And I was just like, okay, it didn't immediately meet my expectations of we're getting so many cameos, and I'm not saying that is a bad thing, because with the cameos that we did get, which I'll talk about later, they were absolutely fine, even though I can see why a lot of people were disappointed in it, considering they got literally murdered 10 seconds after they were introduced. But I need to talk about with the fact that we travel to these different multiverses, and there is one scene where America Chavez is with Doctor Strange and they're like colliding through these different universes, and it was really cool seeing them going from these like different states. They turn into paint, they turn into animation. It was pretty cool, it looked really cool, but we didn't spend enough time in each individual universe, which can be expected given that the film was only like just longer than 2 hours, and so we didn't get enough time to spend enough time in these different universes, and we only got to like, I think it was in about 3 different universes, which was okay, but given that it's Multiverse of Madness, I was expecting to be a lot of different universes experiencing a lot of different types of madness. And I loved one of the kind of like multiversal ideas they had, where it was like the dreams that you have is you existing in a different universe, so what you dream of actually exists out there in a different universe. And so there is this like nightmare that we see Strange constantly having, this dream that we've seen Wanda having, and then Wong just throws in, oh, so the dream I have of like running naked is real? That's out there? I thought that was really cool, how like what we dream actually exists somewhere else, but that also messes up my mind in the same time. And another thing I want to talk about messing up my mind is the horror. This film, when I said at the beginning, is that this film is one I didn't know I needed. This is a film we haven't had in the MCU before. It is the most darkest, gruesomest film. Yes, I'm 20 years old and this is a 12A. I can handle this stuff, but at the same time, I could not. You can definitely feel Sam Raimi's touch in this film, because honestly, it is horrifying. You know when you're watching a film and you're like, yes, this is very distinctive of the director, and this is how this felt. There are so many scenes where I was literally on the edge of my seat because I was terrified for what was going to happen. They would hold the shot on someone, building the intensity of like someone about to pop out, someone running past, and I was like, I didn't like it. Can we talk about the scene where Wanda is in the mirror dimension? That was a crazy concept, how like he trapped her in the mirror dimension. Like the mirrors are like fracted and it's like poking her or something. How does she get out? And then like she's using the reflection, so she's coming through puddles. That was so cool. It was scary when she like popped out of a puddle and she like bloody cracked open like out of it. This is what I mean about Sam Raimi and his horror. That was so scary, but I bloody loved it. And later on she breaks the fourth wall. I feel like I need to just do a separate video on this. Why are Marvel characters breaking the fourth wall? And I saw a TikTok this morning of it happening multiple times, and it happened like way at the beginning of the MCU as well, not just recently from like WandaVision and onwards. And yes, it's like a callback to WandaVision, like they're in the screen, like we know they're in a sitcom, but like why is it happening other things, other places? I know it's like we're the watcher, but like, and there are wares of universes out there. Still freaked me out. And although I was scared watching it, I actually really liked it. I liked that I was feeling the suspense. I liked that I didn't know what was happening from one scene to the next. I'm gonna talk about Wanda now, and like it's gnawing in the back of my mind. I need to talk about her. She is so scary in this. Elizabeth Olsen is so scary in this as Wanda. But first I need to talk about kind of like my disappointments with her. Before watching this film, I was most excited about seeing Wanda in it. I was excited about seeing her as a villain because After watching WandaVision, my love just grew from her. I have loved her since Age of Ultron, Civil War, and so on. And so I was really excited to see Elizabeth Olsen again, because WandaVision was and probably still is my favourite MCU show. And so I was just really excited to see how they're going to deal with her character after this, because at the end of WandaVision we saw her with the darkhold and that she wanted to find her kids. And in this, she pursues that. The darkhold has a hold of her and she just wants to find her kids no matter the cost. She is a villain. In like the biggest sense, she is a villain. But honestly, how they did her character in it, I felt like it just erased the ending of WandaVision, where she kind of accepted that, but she also was like, I don't understand my power, but I will, and the darkhold corrupted her. So I feel like we need to separate Wanda's character from her grief with the darkhold, because whoever touches it, they go a little woo. And we see that with Doctor Strange, he goes a little woo. A lot of people were raving about Wanda in this, saying that she's the best part, Elizabeth Olsen is the standout, and I agree with that, but I was disappointed because I wanted to really like her character. I couldn't defend her though, I couldn't sympathise with her because she is so brutal in this film. She has no sense of morality or humanity. She doesn't care what she will do. Obviously that is the darkhold corrupting her, and so she's just on a mission to find her kids. Doesn't care what it takes, and you can really see that because yes, like I said, she is brutal, she is violent. Yes, I'm upset that I couldn't like love her, couldn't root for her. When I had just finished watching the film, I was like, I'm so upset. I hate Wanda, like kind of, I hate her in this film. And that's what you want to hate a villain, right? But like, because I loved her before watching it and I hated her after it. But now I can sit back and appreciate Elizabeth Olsen's portrayal of her acting, because she was scary. And I'm seeing like all the leaks, people like posting spoilers online, and I'm just like re-watching it and like, oh my god, she embodied this villain role. She is so scary. How did I like sit through that film just watching her, mesmerized by her performance? She was so darn scary. And with talking about how scary Wanda is, I now want to talk about the cameos, the ones that were rumoured for ages, the ones that were revealed in the trailers. And I do need to talk about bloody Marvel and their trailers because, but the cameos we got, the Illuminati was revealed in the trailers. But we saw some of the people part of this Illuminati in this other universe, and so we got Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski. Everyone fan casted him as Mr. Fantastic, and it came true. We got Black Bolt, sorry I don't know who the actor was. We got Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel, which we saw in the trailer. I knew it was her all along. I didn't think it was Superior Iron Man. I was like, no, that's a woman. That's clearly not a man. And we also got Captain Carter as well as Professor X. And like I've already said before watching this film, I was most excited to see Wanda. I didn't even care about the cameos because we got something revealed in the trailer. People was making up all these people that could possibly be in it, and I was like, I do not want all these cameos because it's going to take away from the story. And luckily the cameos in this did not take away from the story. A lot of people are disappointed because we didn't get so many, and a lot of people are disappointed because they were killed straight away. But honestly, I loved it. I hated it because it was so gruesome, terrifying, but I loved it at the same time. Honestly, the most funniest thing that happened in this movie, because I wouldn't say this movie was funny. There was maybe like one or two lines that were funny, but it wasn't a funny movie. It was a horror film. I liked how they underestimated Wanda because they figured that she was the one in their universe, but she was embodied by the Scarlet Witch from our MCU universe that we have. And so Wanda completely murdered them as soon as meeting them, and I liked how the men died in a really cool way. So Black Bolt's power is that he can kill people by his mouth, by screaming, and Mr. Fantastic, being the idiot he is, reveals this to Wanda and she's like, what mouth? And when it goes to Black Bolt and his mouth is sewn, like he's got no mouth, let me tell you, that was so scary. And I was like, oh my god, you better not be stupid enough to open your mouth. And he did, and blew his brain, like blew his head, like exploded his head, and just dropped dead. We see that on camera. That's gruesome. And then she goes on and takes Mr. Fantastic, and he's bloody shredding like spaghetti. He is shredding like you peel a cheese string, and then just pops, like his brain pops as well. And honestly, just me talking about it in like this kind of graphic sense just reminds me of watching it, and it was very graphic. But I loved how she killed off the men first, and then the women are like, oh shit, we gotta take her down. But obviously they don't last very long. They probably last a minute longer than men, and Wanda takes them down. Very gruesome. Again, she uses Captain Carter's own shield and slices her in half. And it just reminds me of the episode of What If? Episode 5, Zombies, where they throw the shield and slices Captain America in half. And although we don't see her dismembered body in 2, we see like her face like, oh shit, I've just been cut in half. And we see her like fall to the ground, and then Wanda crushes Captain Marvel with like some massive pillar. So the Illuminati are pretty much dead, but honestly that was gruesome, that was cool to see. So I was fine that they popped in, popped out. But what actually really upset me was when Professor X tries to get in the Wanda's mind, the Wanda who's part of their universe, try to like help her out, take like back control of her body. But our little Scarlet Witch of our universe goes like into the mind. She's this like zombie scary thing, snaps his neck, and then it comes out to like Professor X with his neck being snapped. I audibly gasped, threw myself forward in my seat. I was in shock. I teared up a little bit because I was not expecting. I even joked before my sister because I was like, oh, a lot of people are crying in this film, I wonder why. I was like, oh, imagine if Wanda kills Professor X. I feel like I spoke that into existence. It was crazy. I'm shaking now just talking about it. I can't believe she completely bodied these people. Like, I can believe it. I loved how they underestimated her. I was like, oh, we can take her down easy peasy. Doctor Strange, you're the real threat. No, honey. Scarlet Witch killed you in seconds, in minutes after meeting you. I should talk about Doctor Strange given that he is the name on the film. But I don't have a lot to talk about Doctor Strange. He hasn't been one character throughout the MCU that has really stuck out to me. I rewatched his first film and I was like, you're just an arrogant son of a bitch. I don't feel like anyone in your life should be around you because you're so arrogant and you only care about yourself. You just want to be the best. You don't care who you hurt along the way. But he kind of like, because he becomes a sorcerer, he's kind of helping other people. And so I do like how towards the end of the film where he helped America Chavez rather than trying to steal her power like another variant of Doctor Strange did. But then he is like who he is in this film. I felt like the film kind of focused more on the story, the plot, maybe Wanda a little bit, other people, and pushing it forward, that we didn't get enough character development for any single character, or at least not enough. I felt like they didn't really bring Doctor Strange further than what he already was, considering this is his second film, but he's been in probably, I don't know, like 5 before that maybe. And that's all I have to say about Doctor Strange, about Stephen Strange. We didn't get enough of him. I mean, it was cool seeing Benedict Cumberbatch play, I think 3 people in this, our variant and 2 other ones, maybe a 3rd one, I'm not sure. But it was pretty cool seeing him become like the zombie Strange. I saw it coming where he was like, oh, I didn't say they were alive. And now I really want to talk about America Chavez. I really liked her in this. I didn't know she was going to be there for the whole film, but she was. But that being said, I really wish that we got more of her. I wish that we learned more about her. But what we did learn, we learned that she had 2 mums. That's great representation. But also, like, it builds her character a little bit from she's scared of her power because it took her mums away from her, and so she's like, I can't control it, I haven't learned how to deal with this. But then, like I previously mentioned, Strange protected her throughout this whole film and gave her a little speech at the end that she can do it. This whole time she has been helping us with her powers, even though she felt like she couldn't control it. She took us to where we needed to be, and so she controls that power at the end of the film and just punches Scarlet Witch. It was really funny where she punches her and the Scarlet Witch like She was really good in this. She's just this quirky little teenage girl and I really love to see some more of her. But I really think we should talk about the real MVP of this film. That is of course Wong, or one of the real MVPs. I want to talk about Christine later. But Wong, I loved him in this. Everything that he has been in, I thought he had such like a bigger role than that. But I really watched Doctor Strange, I was like, oh, he doesn't do that much. Like I thought he did so much in it. But in this, he's Sorcerer Supreme, as he should be. He's guiding the school, he's protecting Cumberbatch, even though he doesn't really protect it that well because the Scarlet Witch is crazy. I really liked how he embodied the hero role, like he played that and he served it. I loved it and I was so happy he didn't die. There was a brief moment where I thought the Scarlet Witch had killed him, but he survived. Thankfully. I would have been distraught if he had died. And another person serving more than what I thought she would have in this film, and that is Christine. And I'm sadly not talking about the version we have of her in our universe, in our MCU universe that we see. I'm talking about her variant in a different universe, the one with the Illuminati. She is this badass scientist in charge of like all of the research they do there, and she has a really sweet moment with Doctor Strange towards the end of the film where he's like, I love you in every universe. And I so wanted her to go with him or him to stay with her, but then we wouldn't have a Doctor Strange in our universe. But still, I wanted for once them to end up together, but they are not destined to end up together. It's an absolute point. They can't be together, and that makes me sad. But I love how she had this badass role. I loved how she wasn't taking any of Steven's shit. And there is just one trope I hate in films or books where it's two people that should be together but they aren't like really meant to be together, and they can't be together but you just want them together. So like Christine and Strange, where they can't be together, you can see that they're not right for each other, but then you can also see that they should be together but something is pulling them apart. So like different variants from other universes can't be in a different universe. Just like hop. Just hop, like on the weekend see each other. And other people who I was really excited to see in this film are the children, Wanda's children, Tommy and Billy. But I'm sorry. I actually thought they were alright in WandaVision. I don't know if that's the general consensus where they are like fine actors. I thought they were really good, but I need to talk about them and then I'm going to get into the writing of this film, which is my biggest criticism with it. And so the kids in this were so annoying and were not written how actual kids would act. They were fine in WandaVision, like they seemed like just normal kids, but in this they were written so annoying. They made up an ice cream song where a sign like, we want ice cream, give us ice cream and we'll love you. I'm sorry if you're a 10-year-old and you've made up a song like that. Like, it was really weird, and they were just like, oh no, you go first, I want to go first, I want to go first. It didn't seem realistic to me. And now I'm going to talk about the writing, my biggest disappointment with this film, and I'm just going to slap it in the middle and then get back to a bunch of positives that I have. I felt like it was written as if the audience was stupid, because I felt like most of the time they was telling us things, explaining things, rather than showing us stuff. And I get that it's the multiverse, you need to explain things and you need to like explain your plans, but you can show us this rather than just sitting down and giving us it. And I get that this is a film built up from WandaVision with Wanda's character, built up from Spider-Man No Way Home, the concept of the multiverse, maybe even Loki with the concept of the multiverse, and maybe What If, because that's just exploring different universes, I guess, different storylines in those universes. It's not even just the explaining, it's that some lines were so on the nose, and like, I knew that was going to be your response, but why did you have to spell it out for me? I knew that was going to happen, but why did you have to tell me that? And I was just like, sitting there, I was just like, I get it. Why are you telling me this? Can't we just move on? Like, you could have given us more with that time. You just stood there explaining stuff to us. And there are so many one-liners in this that I felt were meant to be dramatic and meant to be important, but I just didn't care for them because they just felt silly. And I can't remember an example, but I'm sure someone else can. This film wasn't a funny film. There are probably one or two lines which were funny. This one felt a bit more serious, a bit more sad maybe with Wanda's character, a bit more villainous, a bit more horror. Like, it was a horror film, it wasn't a funny film. And I'm not critiquing it because it wasn't funny. I'm critiquing it because there was lines that were meant to be funny, but they weren't funny. For example, this is one that actually really just made me roll my eyes and like, oh, really? So it's when we're first introduced to the Illuminati and Mordo's like, oh, the Illuminati will see you now. And Stephen Strange is just like, the Illuminati? What's wrong with the word Illuminati? Like, I get maybe you don't know who they are or what they exist, but that word itself is not so like, huh? And I know that's just me nitpicking with that line. That's just an example I can think of right now. But there was just poor writing. Like I said, I felt like they ruined Wanda's character. Not ruined her, but they didn't explore her and the darkhold enough. They didn't explore the darkhold enough, considering this was one element that was supposed to be significant. Maybe they could have even showed us the corruption of Wanda with it. Made this film just a little bit longer. That's another criticism, because when the film finished, I was so confused. I was like, oh I wasn't expecting it to finish, because I felt like it maybe was rushing towards that ending where Wanda killed herself, like, and so I was like, oh, you was waiting for that moment? Okay. But you didn't really give us a fun enough ride with the dialogue to get us to that moment. The magic, oh my god, the magic and the star pools looked beautiful. Not just the CGI like of it looked beautiful. Yes, the star pools, like, that looked pretty cool, and the magic looked pretty cool. But I want to talk about how they used this magic from previous films. We've seen portals open, we've seen them do the shield things on their hands, I don't know what it's called, but we saw them like conjure a lot of different things. They like made a sword, they made giant hands, they made some like lasso thing, I don't know what it's called, like a grapple hook. They did so many things with it, and it looked so cool, and it was so exciting seeing how they use magic in different ways. And I want to talk about the fighting and the action sequences. The one that you keep seeing popping up in the trailers where they're fighting the monster looked so good. I loved that we saw the fight from Wong's perspective, that we saw the fight from the monster's perspective, and we see like shot from afar as well, and the camera just follows them, and they're flipping and they're twirling and they're conjuring up these different things to attack it. And I just loved how we saw the action close up as well as far away. My favourite thing is seeing action really close up so you can see what's happening, and it's not just cutting away, doing all these big things and all that, so you can't really tell what exactly is happening, but I loved that. And another fight in this which I absolutely loved, it was Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange, and it was to music. Oh, first of all, the score in general in this film was incredible, but in that one scene where they're fighting but like conjuring and moving musical notes with the soundtrack as well, it was so good. I loved it. It was so clever. It was such a Doctor Strange thing to do, such a Stephen Strange thing to do. And it was incredible, and then also gruesome because he threw him out the window and he landed on spikes. But it was so cool seeing them fight to the music, so it just really used everything. It used visual effects, it used acting, it used music, it used camera angles, it used everything in that one scene, and it was so good. It looked so good, and I loved it. And I think my favourite thing to do with music in this, oh my god, when we first see Wanda, they introduce her with the WandaVision theme tune. I loved it. I can't like explain how happy that made me just hearing the I loved it. But obviously she woke up from that dream, so it was a little sad after that moment. But it was so good, that callback to that. People who hadn't seen WandaVision wouldn't have known that, but for those who had, it was a really nice Easter egg, and I loved it. Now I want to wrap up this review by talking about the ending and kind of just like this overall film. So the overall like idea was that about finding your true happiness, Wanda wanting to find her true happiness by finding her kids. One thing that I didn't really pick up on until other people had said it was that Vision was nowhere to be seen. So whether he's an absolute point where like he has to die, he doesn't exist in these other universes, or she didn't want Vision. Maybe she had come to terms with her grief of losing Vision because she lost him multiple times, and now she's come to terms with that grief of losing her kids, realizing that she can't have them. And I just realized coming back to it that in this final fight there wasn't a really big explosive CGI fight. Yes, you kind of had to start up with Zombie Strange coming in to take down Wanda, but other than that it wasn't really that big, that CGI heavy. It just had America Chavez like punch open a star portal for Wanda to go into that universe she previously in, where she embodied the other Wanda there. See the kids who are absolutely terrified of her throwing shit at her, which was quite funny actually, and seeing her completely lose it, scream at the kids to stop it, and then be like, oh wait, no, I'm a good person, like I love you, you love me, and to finally realize that she can't have those kids. She can't have that happiness, and so she sacrifices herself and destroys all the other darkholds in all the other universes, which was a really nice touch to have. We also see America Chavez come like full body into controlling her star portals. Seeing Doctor Strange have his moment with Christine was really nice. And then obviously back to what I said, Wanda sacrifices herself. She collapses the whole temple, the ruins that had like the darkhold spells on it, so no one else can be tempted by the darkhold, because she realizes that you're just gonna know she's not gonna be a total hero at the end. She just realizes her mistakes, realizes she can't have that happiness. Strange realized that he can't have his happiness with Christine. So I don't think anyone is actually happy at the end of this film. Maybe America Chavez, she's learning sorcery. I love that. But yes, Wanda kills herself, and my biggest question with that is Wanda dead? Immediately after the film ended, I was like, no, she's not dead. And so I didn't get upset with that because I know she's not dead. If she is dead, that's a complete waste of her character. She finally became full powerful, the Scarlet Witch. Will she be that when we next see her? I don't know. Will she be Wanda again? Will she be more of a hero, more happy, less driven by grief? But I'm pretty sure that Elizabeth Olsen has signed on for more Marvel projects, as well as she herself has said in an interview that she doesn't think Wanda's dead, or she doesn't think that Wanda's story is over. So we're gonna see her again. I didn't get upset with her death because I know they're not gonna kill her off. That's just stupid if Marvel kill her off, especially now that she's become one of the most popular MCU characters. You're not just gonna kill her off. And you see in that, as it's coming down on her, you see a little flash of red, which is probably just her leaving before it kills her. But also in this, Strange has to use the darkhold. I'm not that well known on what the darkhold does to you, but I'm sure a few minutes use does not corrupt you completely. But the film ends where you see him having the third eye, like the evil Strange did. And so is he now corrupted? And I'm going to talk about that post-credit scene where Charlize Theron shows up. I don't know who she is. She shows up and she's like, oh, something's happening in the universe. Let's go. And his third eye pops up. Like, is he corrupted? Is he evil? I don't exactly know what's going on about that, but that's setting him up for a third film. And don't get me wrong, that's cool that he's traveling, he's going to be in like a different universe in his third film or whatever. Them two just like jumping through a portal just made me think of just like the Lord of the Rings, or like the Hobbit, of like Frodo or Bilbo Baggins, like, I'm going on an adventure! I'm going on an adventure! And with this probably non-coherent review of things that I love, things that I didn't like, a play-by-play of pretty much what happens in the film, my overall thoughts with this is that at first I was disappointed because it didn't live up to my expectations. It didn't live up to my hype of a multiversal film. We didn't travel to a bunch of different multiverses, but it was cool seeing them quickly travel through a bunch, letting us settle in a few of them, letting us see some of these variants, some of them being a little bit better than the main character variant. This isn't shade to Christine, this is just shade to what we saw of her main character variant in this film. It was such a good breath of fresh air, honestly. I love when Marvel films have the touch of the director on it. I can't think of an example right now, but like where I felt with Shang-Chi, I was like, this feels so different. I really like it. I really like the kung fu style martial art fighting. I really like that. And within this, it was so good seeing these horror elements because it just goes to show that Marvel can do something different. I understand why a lot of people are disappointed with this film. I understand why it's got mixed views, why some people are like, I'm so disappointed with that film. I get it. I'm disappointed that it wasn't this massive big multiversal thing. I'm disappointed that there weren't all these cameos. But then that being said, I'm appreciating so much more with this film. When you think about it, it's a simple storyline, and they could have made it so much bigger by going to these different multiverses. But we're getting that with all these other films that are coming out in the future, so just hold tight, okay? I completely agree why some people are disappointed. I've gone over that disappointment, and I'm appreciating this film. The more I think about it, the more I find to love about it. But let me know what you thought about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Are you on the side of being disappointed and hating it, or are you loving it? Are you loving this breath of fresh air in the MCU? I want more things like this where each film feels distinct. This is one I didn't know I was waiting for. So glad I got it. And that is it for my review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. I do a bunch of other Marvel content. I'm just coming off of the Moon Knight finale. That was crazy. I love that. But thanks for watching. Bye.